Hell. Buddhism teaches that there are 6 realms of existence, one of which is a realm that acts like hell. Naraka, often called hell or purgatory in English, is a concept in Buddhist cosmology. It differs from Christian hell in that beings are not sent there as divine punishment, and their stay is not eternal, but incredibly long. Beings are born into a naraka based on their accumulated karma, residing there until that karma reaches its full effect. Afterward, they are reborn in higher realms due to unripened karma. Narakas are depicted as cavernous layers beneath the human world. They are categorized into 8 cold narakas and 8 hot narakas. Here's a summary of each. Hot narakas. Sanjiva, reviving. The ground of this naraka is made of hot iron heated by an immense fire. Beings appear fully grown, in a state of fear and misery. They experience various tortures, including attacks by their fellows and hell guards. Kala Sutra, black thread. Along with the torments of Sanjiva, black lines are drawn on the body, which hell guards use as guides to cut beings with fiery saws and axes. Sata, crushing. Surrounded by massive rocks that crush beings into a bloody pulp, life is restored once the rocks move apart. Rorava, screaming. In this naraka, beings run wildly, seeking refuge from the burning ground. Once they find apparent shelter, they are locked inside as it blazes around them. Maharorava, great screaming. Similar to Rorava, this naraka is reserved for those who sustain their own bodies by harming others. Ruru animals called Kravayada torment them and consume their flesh. Tapana, heating. Hell guards impale beings on fiery spears until flames issue from their noses and mouths. Pratapana, great heating. The tortures here are akin to tapana, but beings are pierced more violently with a trident. Life in this naraka lasts for an extremely long duration. Avici, uninterrupted. Beings are roasted in an immense blazing oven, enduring intense suffering. Life in Avici is said to last an incomprehensible length of time. Cold narakas. Arbuddha, blister. This naraka is a dark, frozen plain surrounded by icy mountains, swept by blizzards. Inhabitants arise fully grown, naked and alone, enduring lifelong exposure to extreme cold, which causes blisters on their bodies. Nirarbuddha, burst blister. Even colder than Arbuddha, this naraka features blisters that burst open, leaving the beings' bodies covered in frozen blood and pus. Atata, shivering. Here, beings continuously shiver in the cold, producing a shivering sound with their mouths. Hahava, lamentation. Inhabitants of Hahava lament in the cold, emitting sounds of pain. Huhuva, chattering teeth. Beings in this naraka shiver to the point where their teeth chatter, making a chattering sound. Utpul, blue lotus. The intense cold in Utpul causes the skin to turn blue, resembling the color of a blue lotus flower. Padma, lotus. This naraka is characterized by blizzards that crack open frozen skin, leaving individuals raw and bloody. Mahapadma, great lotus. In this naraka, the entire body cracks into pieces, exposing internal organs to the extreme cold. The lifetimes in each naraka increase in length by a factor of 8 compared to the previous one. Some sources describe hundreds of thousands of different narakas. Despite its reputation among many people in the West as being a peaceable religion and one lacking gods or an afterlife, this conception of hell portrayed by certain strands of Buddhism is an undeniable place of torment and suffering, yet it is a temporary one, with every rebirth eventually leading back to the deceased becoming human again. No divine being or presence decides on this, only actions or attitudes do. However, time spent in this hell, although temporary, can still last for millions of years. Heaven. In Buddhism, the concept of heaven is not a permanent or eternal realm in the way it is often understood in some other religious traditions. Instead, Buddhism teaches about various realms of existence within the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, known as samsara. These realms are collectively referred to as the 6 realms of existence, and they include realms of gods, demigods, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings. The realm that is commonly associated with a more favorable and pleasant existence is the realm of gods, devas. In this realm, beings may experience a high level of pleasure and luxury, but it is not considered the ultimate goal in Buddhism. According to Buddhist teachings, even the godly realms are subject to impermanence and the cycle of birth and death. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is to attain nirvana, which is a state of liberation from the cycle of rebirth and suffering. Nirvana is beyond the realm of gods and is characterized by the cessation of craving, ignorance, and suffering. It is a state of perfect peace and liberation from the cycle of samsara. Nirvana is a central concept in Buddhism, representing the ultimate goal of the spiritual journey. Here are key aspects to understand about nirvana. Meaning of nirvana. Cessation of suffering. Nirvana is often described as the cessation of suffering, dukkha. It is a state of perfect peace, tranquility, and freedom from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, samsara. Cessation of craving. Nirvana is achieved by overcoming craving, tanha, and attachment, which are identified as the root causes of suffering in Buddhism. It involves breaking free from the cycle of desire and aversion. Nature of nirvana. Beyond concepts. Nirvana is often described as beyond conceptual understanding. It is not a place, state, or condition that can be grasped or defined within the ordinary framework of language and thought. Unconditioned and unborn. Nirvana is considered unconditioned and unborn, meaning it is not subject to the limitations of conditioned existence. It is not produced or caused by external factors. Attaining nirvana. The Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is the prescribed way in Buddhism to attain nirvana. It consists of right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Cultivation of wisdom. Wisdom, prajna, is a crucial component in the path to nirvana. This includes understanding the nature of suffering, impermanence, and the true nature of reality. 3 marks of existence. Impermanence, anicca. Nirvana is free from the impermanence that characterizes all conditioned phenomena. Suffering, dukkha. Nirvana is the end of suffering, representing a state of complete liberation from unsatisfactoriness. Non-self, anatta. Nirvana is a state beyond the notion of a permanent, unchanging self. Types of nirvana. Nibbana with residue, sopadisisa nibbana. This is the state of nirvana attained by an arhat, one who has reached enlightenment, where some mental and physical components remain until the end of their life. Nibbana without residue, anupadisisa nibbana. This is the final and complete nirvana attained at the death of an arhat, where all mental and physical components cease. Bodhisattvas and nirvana. Mahayana perspective. In Mahayana Buddhism, there is an emphasis on the bodhisattva path, where practitioners aspire to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. The idea is that bodhisattvas postpone their own entry into nirvana until all beings can be liberated. Silent liberation. Nirvana is often described as unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, and unformed. It is a state of silence and tranquility, free from the turbulence of conditioned existence. Understanding nirvana is central to grasping the profound goals and aspirations of Buddhist practice. It represents the culmination of the path towards the end of suffering and the realization of ultimate truth. Different Buddhist traditions may have nuanced interpretations of nirvana, but the core idea of liberation from the cycle of birth and death remains consistent.